Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Propagandacast with me, ImperialDane. And today we have for you a 1 versus 1 on Angoville. Yes, indeed, it is lovely, steady Angoville. That quaint French farming map. Of course, split up in two, rather like Eagletons, which I showed yesterday. But of course, difference is there's a lot more bocage, meaning you can't easily cross towards either side. And those points that do exist can be more easily mined, and of course, made a lot less safe to cross. So anyhow, let's get a look at our opponents in the southern corner. We are seeing Kokubude, not entirely sure of his rank, but nonetheless as the 15th Scottish Division leading the charge for the Commonwealth against the 2nd Panzer Division in the area, led by me, ImperialDane, who I am currently at rank 12 in the Wehrmacht 1 versus 1 ladder, so of course that's interesting. And we should of course have to see how this goes. Usual 2 pioneers start. Wehrmacht quarters going up. Nothing highly unusual there. The 2nd Panzer Division actually being formed from Vienna, I do believe. It was also known as the Vienna Panzer Division. And it actually fought in Normandy. I do believe the 3rd Panzer Division also fought, and it had a slight interesting weapon with it. In fact, it had a series of converted Brent carriers, which had been converted into Panzer Jägers, equipped with a series of Panzers, and they were in fact useful. Of course, they had a limited supply of Brent carriers, so of course there was limits to the strength in the longer run. But certainly thought that was interesting to mention, since this is of course a Wehrmacht versus British lineup. Pioneers moving out, and we are seeing reconnaissance section focusing straight on this high yield munitions point, which will certainly reveal that most likely the British commander opts to go for this point. Of course, not an unusual tactic, and of course this area is rather suited for it. Why, you ask? Well, because again of the bocage, meaning it's a lot easier to defend on whatever points there are. Can of course be much easier gunned down by British forces. And we are seeing the lieutenant moving towards the west to seize a bit of territory there. Volksgrenadier team hitting the field, first one to arrive for the Wehrmacht, that is, and hammering straight through the wall, having no truck with that, and setting up right here, I wager, as expected. And British troops going straight for this high yield fuel point as well. So again, nothing unusual there. Of course, it is a much more easily defensible position, thus decreasing the risk at moving the headquarters command truck out this early. In the meanwhile, I am swiftly seizing territory and moving towards here, because I want to know if it's here or there. He's sort of plopping in, as most British players again sort of move towards either side to set up an early base. And of course I spot him right here, discovering the lieutenant, and my Volksgrenadiers scare him off, thus also giving me the indication that he's probably going to be in the east. Again, such matters can sometimes be discovered. For example, when you do spot and oh right, those high yield points are suddenly under British control. Most likely he's going to be there. Of course, sometimes you can be wrong, but it's not a wrong assumption to make in these cases, due to the mobile nature of the British headquarters. 2nd Volksgrenadier team arriving on the field, while the first one is doing a bit of harassment here, going to deny the British all these resources as swiftly as possible. And Volksgrenadier is arriving alongside a bike right there. Again, not entirely sure if I might be seeing a Brent carrier, in which case I will be needing a motorbike to deal with it. And there we go, British getting the devil out of there, not willing to face the Volksgrenadiers the Hun are throwing against them. Bike joining in for a bit of fun as well. And we are seeing a casualty staging going up. Of course, not a bad idea. Of course, also sort of alerting me that he's going to be rather heavy on infantry. And of course it will also be able to heal his troops when they are nearby. Again, that's also sort of the advantage of the British. It can work as a triage sense, albeit it costs few munitions, but at the same time you can have it close to a base, at the same time also close to the front line. And of course he's obviously expecting this to be the main point of fighting, which it of course will become. Volksgrenadiers taking on the reconnaissance section. Infantry section getting ready with a lieutenant nearby, of course, to support. Bike joining in as well, doing a bit of damage to these reconnaissance sectioneers. Lieutenant joining in, also extending command aura to those reconnaissance troops. Volksgrenadiers continuing the dirty business down there, but rather realizing how to move them out, in particular now as infantry section number 2 is on the field with Bren guns. Bren guns, of course, being rather nasty light machine guns, forcing my Volksgrenadiers to take up positions there and hope for the best. Second Volksgrenadiers team, though, might be able to get the drop on these troops, though, and cause a bit of damage. And going straight for the skirmish phase, and the Krieg barracks realizing I don't want to be hanging around too much here in the first tier. I want the bigger things. I want mortars, half-tracks and grenadiers to deal with these Britisher. And we also seen 2 lieutenants. One thing to note, and I'll just briefly pause, British lieutenants for some reason having a tendency for their auras to stack. That has been lessened greatly. And of course the bonuses for when stacking for veterancy bonuses do stack a bit more, but again it isn't so powerful more, and of course you won't gain quite the same effect. So just keep that in mind. And reconnaissance troops coming under heavy fire, 2 down, and of course we are seeing medics rushing in, trying to salvage as many British wounded, of course being much more expensive to reinforce, and of course fully create a casualty clearing station is of course much more valuable to the British. Bike rejoining in, Bren gun section moving out in the open, and Bike moving in, hoping to get a few kills on perhaps the medics or perhaps those dastardly lieutenants. And Krieg barracks is up. Bren gun is forced to retreat while I continue to secure the entire western half of the map, thus giving me in fact most of the map. But of course with the headquarters command truck he won't be feeling that as much in terms of munitions, as it does give a hefty munitions bonus. But this Bren motorcycle will have to get out there alongside those Volksgrenadiers, joining up with the rest to sort of create a slightly more sturdy assault force. Mortar team also getting ready, thus figuring that the British troops are rather clumped up, and what works nicely against clumped up troops? Mortars. And we're also seeing a flamethrower really opting for some sort of heavy assault, while the British are moving north, lieutenants seizing territory, and troops providing covering fire. Of course, in the meanwhile, I am not caring much about that. In fact, lining up here in the south for a small assault right here. Again, that is sometimes the thing you have to do when you're dealing with vast British forces and sort of clump together. Sometimes if it's too strong, focus elsewhere and strike where it isn't. Of course, we are seeing some attempts at harassment there, but the reconnaissance troops do realize that perhaps it won't do them as much good. At the same time, we are seeing a field support truck arriving on the field. A mine here would have been nice, but I haven't had time for it. Of course, it will run straight into my troops and get fired upon a bit. So there you go. Flamethrowers, rifles and light machine guns firing away. Pack coming out of the Krieg barracks, of course not really needed, since of course only the field support truck has only arrived now, but going straight for the base, perhaps hoping to knock out the casualty clearing station, or at least catch those British on the wrong footing. And of course storming up there, one goes down. It looks like flamethrowers scorching away, Pioneers taking heavy losses, and Volksgrenadiers dropping assault grenades. Always nice. There we go. Doing quite a bit of damage to the Bren gun section, killing a few as well. Mortar rounds now raining in as well, and of course due to the situation here they can't really retreat back, and so become really nice targets for those assault grenades. In fact, suffering heavy casualties as mortar grenades are continuing to land in as well. Volksgrenadiers though are finally forced to retreat, and looks like a lieutenant was almost killed but survived nonetheless. Of course, mortar team will have to get out of there, as now the British troops are moving in with a vengeance, ready to avenge their fallen comrades. Pack setting up as well, and looks like this motorbike is not in a good situation. There we go, button down, and perhaps a bit excessive considering that it's only a bike, but at the same time it does finish it off. Grenadiers finally arriving on the field.
We are losing ground.
British troops taking quite a bit of fire, trying to go for this cut-off point, and we're also seeing a slit trench going up, but the mortar is ready nearby, and these chaps might... Yes, there we go, grenade on them. Forced to retreat, another is down. Grenadiers charging in, really hoping to lay down the pressure. Pack firing away. Lieutenants spread out though, again opting to use them as to harass territory. But but of course quickly stopped as they are realizing they are beyond the range of their troops to help them. And we are seeing a captain, thus also sort of signaling that we'll be seeing a Stuart light tank, seeing as there's no lieutenant. I'm not curious to see what those pictures are of. And this casualty clearing station is in fact looking in a rather nasty state. More munitions being expended to sort of field the troops, a bit expensive, but of course he does have the munitions. At the same time, it's also preventing him from using munitions on something else like mines or Piats, and sappers being swiftly retreated actually to begin repairs on the casualty clearing station. And I'm getting ready for another assault. Volksgrenadiers coming up under attack up here in the north. Mortars once more moving in to provide some covering fire. Pioneers with flamethrowers, grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers, and we are seeing a half-track as well. And the Reich headquarters upgrading for the assault phase. What could this mean? Would I be going for a flamethrower half-track? If you think so, then you're correct. I am in fact going for it, since I suspect it might be able to do quite a bit of damage. Of course, only time will tell. Sometimes it does alright, other times it does miserably for some reason, despite being buffs and such. Grenadiers though taking quite a bit of fire. Volksgrenadiers taking up covering positions here. And a grenade being dropped at the sappers, but gets stuck on the casualty clearing station, knocking that out instead. Grenadiers and Pioneers getting out there, but mortar rounds are landing amongst the British troops. And my goodness, oh, Grenadier team is lost. How absolutely horrific. That was not a happy situation. But Grenadier team is being sent out to sort of replenish the losses. And half-track is almost soon ready with the flamethrower. Lieutenant being awfully close, and there we go. Flamethrower. Thrower, half-track, not flower, but thrower. Flammenwerfer. And moving straight for that nice clump of British infantry, beginning to scorch away.